Big welcome to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast. Dan, how are you doing this evening, my man?
I'm having one of them moments where, how on earth my career's got to this. This is a real highlight for me, so I'm pretty nervous. And thank you so much for having me. Incredible, really.
It's quite all right. You shouldn't be nervous. It's just us talking in the corner of a pub, really, albeit a virtual pub.
Virtual and a sober one, sober pub. Look, you're shaking.
Well, it's a school night if
It's a school
such things exist. So yes, we're sober at the moment. Anyway, Dan, we had the pleasure of meeting you on one particular weekend. When was that? 3 years ago, John?
I think it was
21.
22, I think. 2022, second year. Was it not?
Yeah, it was 20.
I'm looking at you two for this one.
Yes, it's 22.
It was another classic ultra that I'd signed up for and not trained for, and then just turned up on the day. And then we were pitched next to each other, weren't we? Good old like
sliding doors moment, you could say. I think we were belting out a wee bit of Nelly the Elephant or something like that at the time.
Yeah, we had our playlist on the go, did we, at that time?
Mm-hmm.
I think we did, and that's where it came from, wasn't it?
Yes.
We'd met you, Stephen, and then John came a bit later. And yeah, it was amazing. But my feet weren't very good at the end of that race, so kind of wish I'd never done it, to be honest. But don't tell Mark that. But
in that, we spoke long and hard about that particular race on many occasions, and we're no huge fans of the paths down in the Lake District, are we, John? We've got a love-hate relationship with them. But
we do.
Listen,
we do.
We are here, first of all, to find out about Dan, the runner. Yeah?
Well, I did what everyone else does, and they just read Born to Run, and then that's it there. But to be honest, though, I used to live in Liverpool, and I just watched these people running around in a bib, and I was like, what on earth is that? So I asked my friend Keith, I was like, mate, people just running around the streets here. I know you're a runner, what do you reckon I do? He's like, shut up. So I walked over. I was trying to work out when I walked over on the Tuesday. It was a Nike run club at the time. And I was like, well, can I just come and run with you? I've never really ran before, couldn't run up the stairs, and I was mostly pissed. Sorry. But and then they were just unbelievable. So I recommend anyone who's getting into running, community run clubs are just the way forward. So I'd met a few people there and started up in the distance, like on a Sunday, the church of the Sunday run, as they always said. And before you know it, you sign up for a marathon to try and one up for Facebook and that. And then ultras came from that after reading Born to Run, really. So I think community running was what got me into it mostly.
And when you say community running, it's the act of running with other people rather than on your own that you think is the powerful factor.
Yeah, I'd also really wanted to lose a lot of weight. I'd come out of Sheffield Hallam after studying photography, and I was like, I'd let myself not walk in the peaks as much and drink a little bit much than I wanted to be. So it was just kind of a means to meet people and then try and lose a bit of weight, get a bit fitter again. And it was genuinely been incredible journey, really.
Snowballed from there. Now, you mentioned that you moved up to marathon distance. What was your first marathon?
Chester Marathon. So I think I'd been running for a couple of months, and then I just signed up for one, and hope for the best. Like I really did. Just try and put it out there. Just kind of know on and off, really switch with me. I thought I'd just give it a go. But this is before I entered the world of ultras, which they're just another level of savage, which I don't think anyone understands. So
we met you on that Friday night in Coniston in that second field, the faraway field. We met you there. And that was the world of ultras, most definitely. But before we speak about that, what had you done ultras before the Lakeland 50?
Yeah, I signed up for a 50k, and then I think I'd done Lakeland once before as well before I met you guys. Oh no, I'd done it twice before because I got considerably worse as I went. So I've done about 10 of them now. I think about 10, 50 or so. And then Lady Bower was the 50. I've never gone any further than that at the moment, but we'll see.
So far.
Yeah, well, I've just signed up for 100k, so I'm like, right, if I can get to that, my GP wants to be like, come on, Dan, you can do it. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone I've signed up for that.
No, we'll keep it. We'll
So,
keep it to ourselves.
but I've it was always just the ultras was something. My auntie was just unbelievable. She lived in Les Houches in Chamonix, which is topical since UTMB, but and she was just mad. So I used to run up a local hill with her here when she was over, and she'd just be like, not let me walk and running off. She'd be like, just grabbing that rope. She'd like make this idea of you just kind of keep pulling yourself up. And I was like, hey, come on, I need to walk. And she's like, not having any of it. She's incredible, actually. I'm sure she won't mind me telling the story, but she went after, I think it was the OCC or one of them before the OCC, and she won a vet group at UTMB, and then she signed up for it was the OCC after that, and then bless her, she was diagnosed, and then after care, she was like, right, defer a place. I'm going to come back and do that after. So she beat cancer in the deferral year and went back and won a vet age group on the OCC. So she's been a huge, huge inspiration for me on running and long distance. Just people are just amazing, aren't they? You know,
what was her name?
Yeah.
Helen Ellis. You'll have to check her out.
Okay.
She should be on your podcast. More interesting than me. So she takes pictures as well. It's fine. So,
Brilliant.
But
We'll get to pictures.
Yeah.
So you're are you a member of a run club just now, or have you got a wee community group?
So when I started, so when it was Nike, Nike dropped the run club. So the people who were kind of working, they were like, does anyone want to volunteer and take this on? So I'm like, okay, I'll give that a go. So I went on to lead that run club with a team of good people for just over 5 years then. So it's like a part-time job because you're maintaining like the Instagram and you're chatting to people just with every direction you can really, and trying to help them to run. Every Tuesday night or Sunday we take people out for a run. But it's mad because like, when we started, it would be say like maybe up to 40 people, but then like by the time I had to leave that, it was like 50 in my group. There's 140 turning up every week. It was mad. So you're like, oh, I've done a leadership in running fitness award. You're like, oh, I'll do that.
Yeah, I hear you. It's it can fare snowball, can't it? Something like that. But it's usually because the sense of community and belonging that it brings. Do you know, often the running is a bit of a byproduct. It's always a bit of a side benefit. The actual big benefit is togetherness.
Couldn't agree more. They were just the nicest people as well. So I was living in town at Liverpool at the time. So when I moved back, I couldn't really go. So I had to drop that, sadly. But I still talk about it like it was yesterday. It was years ago. But it's still going as well, which is just class. They're great people. So
what are they called now?
Dockside Runners.
Dockside Runners.
They're really good, great people.
And have you got? Did I remember you having like some sort of Sunday morning jog group or something like that?
Saturday morning jog club. Yeah.
Saturday morning. I was a day out jog.
We came up with that name ourselves. It was basically.
Thing is, these groups though, they literally change lives. You know, because there's a lot of people. We spoke. Well, Stephen is involved with the 5-Star Run Club, and there's a guys group and there's a mixed groups of all abilities and distances go out and do it. We spoke recently as well with the Wild Tap runners who are encouraging women to be out running, but there's also loads of guys go along as well. So there's a lot of people who might be quite isolated, but they like running, but they've not got a place to go. But these run clubs give them that opportunity to meet with people, like-minded people, and relationships just get created and connections get made. It is literally life-changing through running. And then obviously there's coffee and cake and beer and stuff that happens afterwards as well. But it's brilliant. So fair play to you for starting that up, Dan. And
I just kept it long. I just held the baton.
Yeah, it's cool.
But it was
cool.
You know, I think it's just that level of the kind of the endeavour together, and you're with people for hours, and you really get to, you know, you might be running with someone for an hour and a half, and they'll be like, oh, you know, my sister passed away last year, and they'll just suddenly just want to talk, you know, or something like that, and then like you're just sharing that movement and then that conversation together at that point. They just open up. I think people open up.
You definitely do.
I think a lot of that's because you're side by side with somebody. You're not face to face. You're side by side, and people. I've had it myself. You're out running with somebody or running an event, and within 5 minutes, you're getting their life story.
Yeah.
Somehow people get that confidence and they feel with you, and it's brilliant. And I also, because I can share, I'm an open book, man. I just woof, here you go. So that's brilliant. But it's talking about spending time with people. You spend a lot of time out with runners, but maybe not specifically running. You mentioned photos and photography, and you mentioned university. When did Dan Bentley get an interest in taking photos?
Oh man, good question. I used to love Photoshop in school. Like we had the one computer in the corner in our class, and we're like, right, and we had this little Photoshop thing. And I was like, oh, I'll try and teach myself on this. So I was really quite interested in art and design, really. And then I went off to do a foundation course in Sheffield Hallam, which was media. And I really wanted to do graphic design, but excuse me, French, I was shit at it. So I did this foundation course and found photography through that. My brother had one of those big cameras, which I've got now, which is great, but it's like taking a picture of a field or put it in black and white. I'm like, holy crap, that's incredible. So it's like you can make it a blurry background, and I was like, this is just mad. So I did my foundation course, and then from that I was offered photography degree. So I went into that. So just as I wanted to kind of shoot sports or whatnot, I was conveniently at Beijing Olympics. So my mum had bought my camera, my first professional camera, which is sound. So like I was like, right, I'll just make myself a little project as if I would have been at uni. So luckily, one of the first people I was photographing was Serena Williams. So I was watching that. The family said, no, it wasn't. It was a self-commissioned piece, but so I'm there, just like, how do I make this look kind of stylized or artistic? So that was it. And then the next day was various sports and things, and then just trying to take anything that was arty, so to speak. So it was very much a uni, as long as you could talk about it, which I'll get into. But if you could apply it to art or something you're interested in at the time, then I was like anything I was taking a picture of. So that's how I got into photography. But went on to be a photo editor. So I was a portrait editor. So it was airbrushing and things like that. So I did that for 7.5 years. Just sat there on my computer, taking off spots and organising pictures and making people look how they. No, probably not. Oh, it's interesting because you have our filters now. We'll do a selfie, but this is way before that. So as soon as all of us switch that off, we're like, right, we just all aged 10 years at the same time. Imagine I got rid of that. But it's that's it anyway. But
Was that something that was it a job or did you enjoy it? Is it something you're passionate about? And
I just came out of uni and just needed to have any job really, and
yeah.
stick in some sort of photography. And I liked the idea of doing design. I liked how quick it was really. So I managed to get into the studio, and it was amazing at kind of to say I was doing it, but the kind of environment, the office environment is tricky for a lot of us, I think. So when you're just editing pictures day in, day out, and you have the roles, and you have to put your timesheet if you've been to the toilet for 20 minutes, and you're like, how many? It was kind of sucked the life out of that. But
Hello Groundhog Day.
So I'd done that, and then I went to freelance by losing my job on day one of lockdown. So I stayed as a freelance photographer from that. So that's when I started my personal business, and I've been full time just a photographer since that, which is pretty tricky to really.
Sorry, hundreds of questions flying through my head, right? So we've known you since the Lakes, always been on the radar, social media stuff and that. We seen you in there, but you've been involved with some. Well, Beijing Olympics is pretty big as well. But you've
involved in that was.
but you've been involved in some pretty high profile events. How did that come about, Dan?
It's building relationships as much as you can online. If I was to offer anyone advice, it'd been to email people if you feel that they had a gap in their marketing or business, but I had no idea of that, so I've just email everyone and hope for the best, and which I would say isn't ideal. So I went on to work for sports brands just because I knew that people that worked there. I was like, any chance you can get me in? But like, say Red Bull, for example, I worked with them for a little bit, but that took 4 years to get to the point where they'd even invite me to take pictures for them. So that was building relationships along the way. That would be socials or turning up and trying to contribute to anything really that I could. But that was when I wasn't full time. So I'd say being a photographer is a lot easier when you have a job as well, if I'm being honest with you. But I'm not speaking for everyone, but for me, it was easy to build a relationship when I would say it's easier to maintain saying you're a freelancer if you're getting paid for it. But if you're not, you know, you're not, are you? So how did I get to that? It's just message people really, hope for the best, and sometimes I get back, keep putting your work out there, and I just think you just kind of get lucky. Hope for the best.
Well, you say get lucky, but you do it in such a style that you try and sync yourself with that company brand type ethos and that as well. So you say lucky, but I'd suggest that there's more to it than that.
Like I say if I fast forward it to now, I see so much of companies or marketers saying you need to find your niche, and yes, that does kind of work, but like your niche could be not employed for 3 years. You know, like let's just say a global company be like, I want that style. That's who we know, that person shoots in that style, so put that out there. But that might be that done for the next however, not again, you know. So things like being good at, say, a black and white portrait, for example, that's not really going out of fashion, in my opinion. So it's something that's been about, or being able to shoot a wedding in the morning and then, you know, maybe an event or something in the evening. I always kind of like the idea of, I was raised a lot by my nan, so variety was the spice of life, she'd always say. So it's I always liked that idea. But it was
it's like you don't want to pigeonhole yourself just as this is my boundaries, but you know, you need the sort of bedrock stuff that is always going to be in vogue. And then you can maybe then add the whistles and bells, which I think you've done.
Thank you, man. I think you can have all the camera equipment in the world, really, but if you're awkward in front of people, like me, nervous, bumbling through, but it's like if you're nervous in front of people taking a picture, the person in front of you is going to be pretty nervous, really. So like, and then they'll know in the portrait that they were nervous at the picture, and they don't really react to it, or it's not really that valuable. Like I shoot quite a lot of trainers and things like that, or releases that'll be coming out. So I mean, they don't answer back to you really, or if they do, you've got a problem on you. But I shoot things like supplement brands and stuff that'll be like content for a business. It wouldn't always be events, but events has been recently a lot of my income, which has been great.
I think I've got a podcast title for this one, Stephen, and it's Name Oak for Shy Bairns, I think. And that's a Scottish term.
Is that not about episode 1?
It might have been.
Season 1, episode 1.
It's a Scottish term, Dan, and it pretty much is what you've described. It's about putting yourself out there and then putting an email out to people, making relationships, asking the question. If you don't ask the question, you're never going to get an answer. Sometimes you might get told, no, not today, but that's okay. That's all right. At least you've asked. And I think as well as Stephen and I, you can talk. We know that. We shared a lot of stories at the lakes that weekend. And I think I felt personally very comfortable in your company. So if you're doing that when you're speaking with people, looked at your website. Did you make the website?
Mostly it's just Squarespace, so it's a template.
It's really good. And I see you say in there, I do weddings as well, because there's a lot of stuff in there, you know, but doing weddings too. But what I love is I'm looking at it just now, the photos from the Manchester Try. There's some people, there's group photos, there's people showing great signs of endeavour. But my favourite one, somebody's lying on their back with their legs up in the air. It's one of these photographs. Somebody just went like that. One of them, but you've captured it. So it's a brilliant mix of fun, serious, all that sort of stuff. And that maybe it's not a niche, maybe that's your thing, but what's in your head when you're taking photos? What are you trying to capture?
Well, if I'm turning up to an event, I think there's three things that you want to be photographing, like the establishing shots, so a few either side of that. Like, say it might be, instead of let's just say it might be a drone shot, for example, and then it'll be who's there and then who it's about. So if I'm saying working with people, I'm just like, can you cover the outer bit, and then I'll make the portrait to the middle, and those like little bits of the interactions in between. So for example, you're shooting a wedding, you may now kiss the bride, but typically you can't get a picture of that and then the groomsman crying. So it's like, make sure you're covering these areas. But like a storyteller, like a lot of people mention like street photography, when you're saying like things that are kind of happening, and I'm a bit torn with that at the moment, and we can get onto that if you want. But it's I think the humor in photography isn't going away either, as long as you're not looking like you're trying to take the piss out of people. Really, I can't stand that. It's like I'm a bit concerned, like say if you've sneezed holding the hot dog and someone's taking a picture of it, it ends up in a gallery. I think that type of thing is just absolutely mental. You'll hear like the name like Martin Parr coming out a lot, who's incredible. I've studied him through uni. I met him in his studio last year, and he is just amazing at what he does. But people apply their kind of prejudice after the fact on the picture. But then you'll see like they say the copying, or people wanting to shoot his style in this day and age, and they're just applying their own ideas of what people have said about his work. So it's like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I recommend if anyone getting into photography to at least try these styles and get into that. But Martin, don't hate me, I love your work. But it's just kind of, so back to the shooting events, and it would be shoot as much as you can, bring as much humor into it that tells personality, that isn't going to upset people if it went online, for example. That's what I always kind of look for. So the legs in the air, if it's not revealing in any kind of store, I usually know the people, so I'll make sure that they're feeling comfortable enough. And then the hero shots, I've always been fascinated with those kind of like poster pictures, of like Ellis Brigham film festivals, and it's like those headshots of people that just look incredible, and they've got a story to tell just through their eyes. I've always liked that type of thing. And sorry, I'm going off on one again.
No, that's all right. See, when you said, like, so you've got quite a varied skill set in terms of your photography, but like in terms of like me, well, for me, I'm not a photographer, and but I'm looking at your website, I'm looking at your Instagram, and the variety there is quite, like a cross section, like for photographing products for brands. You're a sneakerhead, by the way.
A little bit, not too much. I try and live barefoot as much as I can now.
All right, okay. I was going to say, what's your, like, when I say sneaker, that's a totally different thing for a schwanker. A schwanker is a shoe wanker. That's a very much a running term. Sneakerhead is like a more fashion trainer, fashionista.
Yeah, New Balance, I'd probably say, is
okay.
Only because, not because I've worked for different brands, but they're just amazing. I love them. But
that's not because they're paying you the most.
Yeah, they're not paying me to say that now.
That's all right if they are, by the way. I love my New Balance. New Balance.
Yeah,
New Balance, John.
Please employ me.
I'm an Aldi guy. It's like Aldi. It does me.
I've just bought a pair of Killian's normals as well, so on Vinted before Damien Hall has a go at me. But I'm listening to his book at the moment. You can't run away from this. I've never felt so guilty in my life. I'm like looking down.
Well, Damien, you'll love that. You'll love that. Packing a punch.
There's people I want to photograph. He's one of them. I think. I think he's. I've always been. So it's interesting being a photographer. Like you kind of wanted to build relationships, so you might kind of comment on something. I've commented with him a few times, and I'm like, am I trolling him there? I hope he doesn't think that. I'm just trying to join in because he's a. So I thought, right, step back down and listen to it. So I read his book and I'm listening to his other one now. But I think he's really a character. What's that, sorry?
He listens to the podcast, Damien. So
right, don't tell me
speak to him direct if you want.
Maybe a fun idea, mate. It's called environmental. So why don't we just make make a one medal, so not everyone, and you get a picture of it. So once you've done the event, you have, you know, your picture with holding your medal with me, douche there. You get the event company only has to produce one of them. It's not going anywhere near. And I will have to deal with server farms, but I'll upload it in low quality. But you know, genuinely though, because like again, we'll get onto the portraits, but I think people will reminisce is a wrong word, but connect with a picture of themselves or remember a picture of themselves as we all change. The medal never changes; it never goes anywhere. But you'll look back on a picture with you when, you know, when I did that, and I think that's something we could hook me up. I'll come and do it with Green, honest with you. But
love that. Love that. And then in terms of you starting to dip your toe more in the running photography world, because that's become, niche is the wrong word as we've already used, but it's become certainly in your bag of tricks. Running, where did that opportunity present itself, or running outdoorsy?
Yeah, well, from running really. So I and then I was like, what, man, people, like I was talking about Helen, my auntie, who's like running these long distances. I was like, holy crap, man, there's one in Chester, which is a 50 miler. So like I'd sign up to that, and then I was like, that's great, and volunteer for it as well. So then I had my camera. I was like, I wonder if I can take any pictures of people running. So I was like, oh, chatting to Wayne. I was like, any chance? The race director of GB Ultras. I was like, you know, can I come and take some pictures for you? I'll do voluntary, and then I did that for a bit. Volunteered at a couple of aid stations, and then off kind of the back of that, I've pitched this portrait thing, which I've been doing all year. You know, it's a lot easier to go and volunteer when you've got a job. So trying to monetize it, I was like, any chance you could put me up for this? I've got this idea of shooting these kind of like high quality eye shots of people at the end of the race as soon as they finish. I mean, it's not a black and white picture or at the end of the race, anything like that. It's nothing new. I just wanted to try and bring in like 7 years of portrait editing and you know, all these years of freelance and make them feel like they're their own poster, you know, essentially. So that was how I kind of got into that. But you know, there's not a photographer at the end of the finish line, so I'm like, Christ, I'll run out, take a picture of them coming through, then I'll take a picture of the gantry, then I'll run them in for the black and white. Poor guys and girls are stuck with me for 5 minutes. But it's like, how do I do it quickly and not take up over their time? So
and are you recording that on Strava yourself? Just that's an ultra in itself.
I used to do getting volunteer races. You know, you'd run up and down with people and encourage them at like kind of like 20 miles of a marathon. Man, I was so hungover doing that. I ran 23 miles. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't hungover at the end, but I felt sick. But it's you know, just run up and down. You talk to people, and you're not trying to make them cry, but they just have that emotion, and you say, like, look, you're doing so well. And at the end of these ultras, I get them in and into the tent, having a big light, and I've not had a professional picture before. You've only got a light there. Anyone can do this, you know. But it's I set that up, and I just kind of look at them. I was like, and I mean it as well, like, because ultra runners are an art form. They're incredible people. So I just say, like, look, I'm proud of you. Like, you are incredible. I want you to look down this lens, and your family aren't here, but they're in this picture. So you just look at them and think how proud you are when I take this. And you know, I'm not trying to make them cry. I just want them to, when they look at the picture, that they feel proud of themselves. Like if they do, like it has happened where they do well up, I'm not going to go, yeah, no, that's good, mate. I'll get a load of that. I just kind of wait, and there's a moment where people aren't reactive. They're thinking genuinely about what they've done, or the people who they're going to be proud of, or proud of them, him, her. But I'd say that. So I've done nearly 2,000 of them this year, which has been incredible, and I genuinely mean it. Like at the time when I see these people coming through, like I've met a few of them over the time, but even from the very get-go, it's incredible. I beg any marketer, anyone who's been in marketing in sports or kind of any like team building activity to go and stand at a finish line at these events and see these people coming through and talk to them. But again, I don't want it to be about me. I just want to get the picture, make sure they feel proud that they're taking it, and then they can go and see the family in that. But or often the time the family aren't there. It'd just be dark. They just run through on their own. Like, good to see you again, Dan. Here's your medal. It's like, oh, Ian's going on now. So it's but that's been one of the career highlights for me doing them. I think it's the most fulfilling part of my career at the moment is shooting the people with that, and the ultra runners especially, because I just look in awe, man. Like, these people have done like 200 miles. You know, you look, and they're like, I've been looking forward to your picture. I'm like, mate, I'm starting crying. Like, it's just wild. And Wayne, bless him, man, the race director, he was really up for it. He's like, well, what you need? And Ian Yates and Laura, they're just such a great team. And they're like, well, here's a generator to power your lights. And we're just trying to work it out. So I'm just in a gazebo and I'm just tying it, like storms are coming through. So I'm like holding on to me light or trying to tie it up. I'm like, right, we need something better for this time. And I just get them in, soaking wet, and off they get all mozzies and things like that. So I'm stood there sometimes, you know, whatever, 2 days. So it's but luckily, it's summer long, man. The race across Scotland was long.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I just
So
set
you're
up
camped out at the finish line for
well,
a window of 48 hours.
Yeah, so I won't miss anyone. If they want the picture, I'm there. You know, up till cut off, respectfully, like so I just they give me an airbed and I'll just sleep under my lights. So the next minute I'll just have like a volunteer. There's gonna be a runner. Christ, it'd be like 3 a.m. I'm like, quick, push my light back on. I'm like, hey, what a time to be alive. Great to see you. We had a nice little day out. Have you had a nice jog? Never say jog to an ultra runner. Oh, it's interesting, isn't it? Jogging, I said, well, a lovely jogging day out there, mate. And they're like, oh, it's a walk or a run. I'm like, sorry. Or a crawl or some of them, man.
That's just to get that look of anger on their face.
Well, I wish I could calm down on this, but I just want them to feel as calm and themselves as possible. Like we've all had the race pictures where you're running past and you're like thumbs up, but that's a reactive picture. Like, it means it's you reacting to the photographer, and it's not really about you. Like, every picture anyway as a photographer is an extension of the photographer, like just from the choice of camera or the edit or the lighting, and at what point do I take the picture, or what edit do I deliver to them? It's always usually my choice. So how do I understand that person as quickly as possible to make sure they feel comfortable with that, and when I deliver that image, they know that felt like them. So, you know, like, just if you're as relaxed as you can, you know, or you make them feel special, which they are, you know. And I usually say it's good luck to get your picture taken by me, but it's, you know, it's an incredible thing. But
I love Dan, what you described about, you're giving them, this is their moment in time, this is their space. And I think you see there's lots of race photographs go out, and there's people on phones and things like that, and I generally will whiz through them, see if there's anybody I know, and I'll look at that. But with your portraits, I pore over them, man. I stop on them because the clarity of them are brilliant. But what you've just described, I hadn't thought about that. You're looking at people and they're proud of what they've achieved, but there's a whole heap of reasons behind why people do things. And it might be the first race they've done. It might be they've DNF'd a few times and this time they're finished. It might be they're running it for a cause, for their family, for a loved one, for somebody that's passed or whatever. And that shows in your pictures, man. It's like you're looking into their soul, because it's. And I think the black and white brings that. Is that what you're all about, the black and white stuff?
It's a bit of a workflow choice, black and white, really. I think naturally we think black and white is more true, like a newspaper, for example. Or it's just a way of taking all. So, for example, there's a picture of someone in an Everton top, you know, like that's an idea. You know, you're gonna have your preconceptions of that person anyway, especially if they're an Everton fan. But it's but actually, like, jokes aside, it's just a way of kind of taking all that out and just delivering the emotion. Like, eyes don't really change, do they, throughout your entire life, but your face will. And so these headshots are taking out choices of clothing, taking out logos. It's more timeless, is what I'm trying to crop it. Admittedly, after people started turning up, obviously, to multiple events through GB Ultra, so we had to start including the medals in case I couldn't see their neck, you know, where it be Ultra Wales, Ultra Scotland, or whatever it had been. So I got them to hold the medal up, you know, and keep the race director happy as well. But it's the black and white, it's just a good way. It's more about form, I think, you know. And let's just say Sainsbury's is orange. It's quite a friendly, inviting color. It's like the communicating of maybe, I'm not saying it's cheap, but a cheaper place. Whereas like this green, deep greens of like John Lewis or something, you associate that as quite a luxury kind of color. So you kind of have like these natural connections with colors anyway with that. So I just think if you have like a bright yellow t-shirt on, it's going to take it away from the facial expressions, I think. So you just naturally look at that, so yeah, I'd say the other thing is not airbrushing them really at all. So like if they're smiling, they got a bit of Cliff Bar in their teeth because no one can ever swallow one of them. Like I might take that out, but I don't. In fact, it's usually quite the opposite. I'll make it quite deep and make sure that they're looking, bright eyes and straight down the camera. But I won't really accept pictures of them looking away as well. I don't really like people swear at me or do the P2Ks and that sometimes, not so much. But I usually just try and want it to be their space and their moment. So genuinely, this is your time, and I want you to look back on this. And it's mad, like the people message me afterwards and then the emails that I've had, and I won't be the only person with this. A lot of photographers, it's a real pleasing part of my job when people message me saying like, in 58 years, I'm not like the picture myself or similar. People message me like, you've just made that so special. I didn't have anyone else there, and now I get to share this, and it's how I felt. So, and that's been the most fulfilling part of my job at the moment, to be honest. So,
Well,
I've got.
I think, my own Instagram timeline and that of the Young Hearts Run Free Instagram timeline has been filled with people proudly posting those pictures that you've been taking, Dan, sharing them with their networks and hopefully, exposing the amazing work that you're doing there. And also I can tell you're proud of them as well, because you post a selection of as well. But we get our medal at the end, and not everybody loves medals. Yeah. I like a medal. John likes a medal, quite like a keepsake like that. But a moment in time captured the way that you're capturing it, Dan, is totally timeless, and it doesn't take up any space in your bedside drawer necessarily as well. And it's something that people, I think you described it really well there. Actually, it kind of struck home when you said, you can show other people that proudly, whether it's on digital form, whether it's. I love the fact that you want people to have a poster moment.
Yeah, well, they are superheroes. Not everyone's a super. These ultras are just mad. Really. I think when you've been in the scene for a while with it, it's like it almost becomes normal. But anyone who's putting themselves out there and going for one of these races, it's just incredible. It really is incredible. And like when I say it's an art form, it's like the bodybuilders, and you have to make all these decisions to build this. But it's like building the mind to keep going, and knowing what to wear at what points you feel like that, navigating that side of growth really and development. I think that's something I think that can show just by looking down the camera and saying, well, this is the event I've just done. And again, when you say it was me, like the team of GB Ultras have facilitated this, I've taken a picture, but like they've really helped them as well.
Well, is it okay? So your most recent outing for them was the race across Scotland, which finished at, what's the little town it finishes at? Remind me. You spent 2 days there.
Yeah, is it Coburn Path? Did you say with the finish line?
Yeah, Coburn Path.
Yeah.
So, Martin Heggie was running it. He's a favourite of ours. He's a favourite of our listeners as well. I've seen him share. I think he's maybe got it as his profile picture just now. Which
good luck. Ask him what good luck he's had.
he wears a buff as well. A Dan Bentley photo whilst you're wearing a buff. If you're so happen to be partaking in any up and coming GB Ultras races, maybe around about the beginning of October. That's the magic formula.
Mate, so if anyone's wearing that, I'll send you them digi for free. But that's another thing. So I am prepaid to do this. So GB Ultras put a hell of a lot of effort into. I'm not paid to say this, but they put a lot of effort into photos and photographers, and they pay and prepay this. So I give them a watermark the black and whites. You know, they just get that from the Facebook, and then you can buy it afterwards to help me pay for the petrol home or whatever I've broken on my car driving around Skye. So it's, but yeah, it's sorry, man. Yeah, so.
So does that race across Scotland now? What the backdrop idea, was that something that was your own? Which was, do you explain that, the backdrop?
I spent so long on it's either precise images or viewing to a brief. So I kind of like the idea of this abstract art, really, that I can just, doesn't have to make sense to anyone, but I wanted to just paint it in a way that kind of represented the ebbs and flows of energy, and I got them to sign it to try and get that human touch of it. So obviously the black and white had a choice of having this kind of banner that they could be photographing at the end of it. You get so yeah, I just painted that on my mum's lawn, ruined the lawn, and but I've been fascinated, like even like growing up, it'd be like Rothko paintings, like these minimal paintings on the wall, and I've photographed like seascapes that look similar to these paintings for years. So that was kind of my attempt to be like a Jackson Pollock or Bollocks if it was mine. But I love that. I genuinely love doing that. It was just a nod to a very, very loose nod to the Scottish flag, but it was more about kind of like the coast to coast, and like just I wanted runners to possibly engage with it, where they just look at it and go, "What on earth have I just been doing?" And then I'll sign that, and then I'll take a picture with it. It's been responded quite nicely, but it also was a bit like some dodgy curtains in the corner, took up a lot of space. So thank you, Wayne, enough for letting me try that. But it was good.
And I love the fact that GB Ultras are putting time and effort and thought and resource behind that, because they market an event, especially at the end of the day, they're a business that they want to attract people to sign up for it. If that's another element that they've got over their competitors, then that's all part of being in business. You photographed up in Skye for them. That seemed quite a memorable experience because they're now they put on the Skye Ultra.
Yeah, they've taken that on. So it was I think it's
Was this their first year?
Yeah,
so
I think it's in its 5th year, but it's the first time that they put it on. So
it's
long drive, that one.
Spectacular route.
Blimey, it took 13 hours to get up there. So just ate a lot of skittles. Stop at Cairn Lodge, and then
You'd be as well running it.
What's that? Sorry, how many people?
You would have been as well running it, like rather than driving it. It's like an ultra marathon drive to get there for you.
It is.
It's worth it though.
Oh God, I've dreamt of going there. So again, part of my career to be able to go and photograph these places, and it's Scottish people, nicest people. So every time I go up there, it's just great, and the people, it was mad. And then seeing I don't think I could do any justice of that race, because it's so awe-inspiring, these rock formations. It's genuinely incredible, and I'm trying to take some pictures. So tech-wise, if anyone wants to, any photographers out there, if you have like a wide focal length, for example, like the fisheye style, you don't really get the background in. So if you have a 70 to 200, zoom to 200, the background will come forwards. You get those like scale shots and those big mountains behind. So I'm there just like 2 cameras going, how the hell can I make this feel like big for what it felt like for the runner, but then the runner to be the subject of it as well in the space. So I'm there taking pictures of it, and then really, really cautious of like tourists or any brand reputation. So if there's any like families around, I'll just have to edit them out of the pictures, really. So a lot of the time it might just be the runner coming through solo, but if anyone else is there, I'll take them out. But yeah, what a place, man. I'd go if they have me back, I'm there.
We should say, for anybody that's listening to this in audio, if you want to see Dan's hand movements when he's describing the cameras, go and watch the YouTube version.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Because that was quite brilliant, the way you were describing the background and stuff. So, but you know what? Let's talk about that. We very often we speak about running kit and running shoes and all sorts of running shit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about cameras. What's in your pack when you go to a run? How many cameras do you take? And describe the big one?
The big one. Well, they've kind of got better and gone smaller now. So it's shoot with Canon. I've got an R5, which is something called a mirrorless. I have genuinely no idea. But I use a lot of the eye focus for that, so that's why I can kind of talk to the subject and keep the eye focus on, so like, and make sure they're looking down the lens, but I'm not hidden behind it, so it's very nice to see it. You know, you can kind of get that. And then I have a 1DX2, a Canon again, which was the camera that came out at the Olympics years ago. And that was like the speed sports camera, something that you'd take in the rain and you wouldn't really worry about it. So I'd say so lens wise, something you can zoom in. So say if you've got a runner down the course, you might picture yourself like, imagine you're on an arrow, so you can see the runner coming towards you, and you can see them at the point that you want to take a picture. Maybe it'll be a feature of sky, it could be store or something, so you'll have a wider angle there, and then it might be a nice point of them running away, either or, so you swap your camera for them zooming away as well, so you can try and get like 3 pictures in one spot then with 2 cameras. So that's how I'd approach an event. But saying that, that's on an event, but that's with everything really as well. It'd be weddings, you can do that. So you can have your wide angle at the back, and then you can zoom in to like maybe put the rings on with the other camera and things like that. Kit wise of choice, you don't have to spend a lot, but I do usually recommend something with at least say 25 megapixel if you can. You know, like the R5s are I think around 40 something, and I think the 1DX is 121. Sorry to bore you, but I'd really recommend something that you can zoom in on, because majority of people will just zoom in on Instagram and I'll be like, oh, you've cropped that, haven't you? And it'll be out of focus or something. So something that's got a bit of detail that you can work into. And then just an on-camera flash. I've had the same one for about 8 years or so, and I just taped it up. I try not to, if it's not broken, keep it. So,
how many photos did you take in Race Across Scotland?
Oh man, I could probably tell you that. Here we go. So Race Across, I wasn't out on course of that one, so I only took 2,000.
You only took 2,000.
Yeah, and I did a shoot for New Balance a couple of weeks ago, and I took about 3.5. That was mad. So, like for example, say if you have, I've lost so say if you're having someone running past you, put your shutter speed up, put your ISO on auto. It doesn't really, noise is fine. Ultimately, it's better to be in focus. You can try and do the panning pictures. The panning pictures take away from the landscape because it's typically out of focus. We can call it that. So it's kind of two ways of doing event photography. I think there's a commercial side where you shoot like the beauty shots. You don't have to shoot every runner, or there's the arduous task of shooting everyone, and then people telling you they don't like it afterwards. So you're like, man, sat there for 7 hours for you. You're like, man, it's a good picture. What you're about? So there's kind of 2 different ones. That might have a beauty spot where someone's going to run through like a horizon line, but like things like Race Across Scotland or Sky, the field gets so spread out, and you could take a picture of 2 people and then move down the line, and you're the same 2 people. You've been there for like 3 hours or so. So it's always good to try and get everyone at least one to do it at the start of the race. And but yeah, tech wise. Sorry.
Did you manage to get introduced to the midges up in Sky?
Oh man, I'm lucky really, because I was out and about, but when it came to people finishing, I was mostly inside.
All right.
So, oh man, Ultra Wales was like, my hands were just ragging for weeks. It felt like, oh, they're still on me. So it's like, and my light was attracting them as well. So I'm like coming to this haze of like midges, man, that like check the picture and like just look down this lens and feel proud of yourself and like sun in your eye.
All the niceties are gone. Fucking look at me, you dick.
Oh, it was bad. Yeah, that was Sky. Sky was really interesting because like you have the shuttle buses back, so people. I'm not sure if you've been to the ultras where there's an A to B and then a shuttle back at like 9 a.m. the next morning, or so people are just sleeping around just on the floor, obviously next to you. So I'm like, you've done amazing. And I've been moving backwards to try, and I'm like, shit, I've just stood on someone. I hope their feet are okay. Didn't see you there, mate. Like, or like the airbeds and things. So I'm just trying my best in the space that I've got to get these pictures. But yeah, just
sorry, I interrupted you there just when you were going to get another nugget of your tech or your gear.
Yeah, so I'd say wide angle. So if someone's running past, just have it on high speed and just follow it. If you can have it on at least 800, for example, and you know, maybe
800 what?
1/800, yeah, shutter speed.
All
so,
right.
yeah, whatever that is. So any photographers listening, if it's on your phone, just put it on auto, you know, high rate and just move it.
Okay.
High speed shutter, which man cameras forever can get a good picture like that. So just follow them and move with them.
Okay.
Keep that on.
John likes some photography, self-photography in particular. He's a big fan of taking photos whilst he's out on a run. Aren't you, John?
Yes.
Mostly upskirt shots.
I don't think that's
Ken,
quite
you've
true,
got-
Stephen.
No, you've got the camera on the ground, obviously, and it's like, you know, you can accentuate your calves and stuff like that.
It just comes natural to me, though.
Ah,
So,
right enough.
you know
I
what I mean? It's
forgot
just how,
about
it's
that.
just how I roll, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but you know what? Most people are out there with a phone these days, but there's a definite different depth to photographs. And I'm still stuck at the portrait thing, man. Because when I think about looking at these portraits, and we know Stephen mentioned Martin Heggie, we know a number of people that have taken part in your in the events that you've taken photographs of, Dan. And what I look at that is what have they put in to that event, and somehow it shows in their face, the training that they've put in, the graft, the endeavour there, and I think you capture that brilliantly. And I also think GB Ultras, I don't know if they advertise this, but maybe they should. That come and take part in our event. At the end of the event, you're getting your photograph taken with Dan Bentley. There you go. That's a fucking great selling point.
Once met Young Hearts Run Free at Lakeland. Dan Bentley.
Where you buff, you get the high res for free. But man, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe they should. I mean, that's good for me because as a freelancer, you're like, that means I've got all them dates booked for next year. So GB, if you're listening, let's do that. So,
if no, there might be another ultra race organizer ready to swoop in.
Hey, you never know. I'm not exclusive yet, but
it's not on the slightest.
But I have had it where I'll do. It's an interesting one as a photographer. Like you'll shoot something and then shoot something similar, and you'll get a call off that going, "Oh, you do know you've just worked for our competitor." I'm like, I don't know what to say. Like, not even. All right. I'll tell you what, mate. My kid doesn't need any nappies. Like, I'll just work for you when you need. You know, things like that.
Can I ask, Dan? You must have seen some quite phenomenal feats of endeavour. Is there anything that stood out for you? Any individual? Well, maybe it doesn't get bigger than your auntie Helen. Quite phenomenal what she's done. But is there some of these things as you've been at these events? Is there any moments that just have stayed with you? Things that you think about?
When they take the shoes off, mate. Holy crap! That's probably not the right. There's not really. As a whole, it's just incredible. I couldn't really think of anything that stands out specifically. Or when people run in and they've got like 3 minutes to go and they're like, "Oh, that was my Jasmine Paris moment," legend. You know, things like that. There's been a few negative ones where they've kind of missed cutoffs and things, and they get angry that they've done that, or it's really emotional because people have been waiting for sometimes 2 days for them to come through. And but like I was like, man, come get your picture anyway. You've done incredible. You know, things that. So sorry, I don't really have a. We put an event which was a 12-hour event and midday to midnight. It was just a local thing with a good group of people. And we just asked the run clubs, do you fancy trying to run 12 hours? You do it as a team if you want. And then I reckon that whole event, man, people just really pushed themselves. That was an incredible one. Nothing, well, everything about just being there, really. But,
it's quite a thing, isn't it, to be there in that moment where people are coming through, and there's a range of emotions. People that have finished, people that have missed checkpoints. So the whole thing's going on. It's quite a privilege to be there to witness all of that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just, again, anyone just go and hang out at a finish line and do that. But hang on, I wrote down a story which I was going to tell you. Here's an article which we need to do. So have you heard of the Bob Graham round?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, we've all heard of that. So talking to the guy who got me into running, I was his best man, Keith, and I put on a Keith Pugh round. I'm sure you won't mind saying his name, but which was 42 pints and 66 tasks. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Bob Graham, but that's the peaks and the miles. Or so then I was like, well, how can I make this about running? So did what everyone did when they're planning a stag do, and just message Jasmine Paris to set a task. So bless her. So she replied with a task. I was getting like Fiona Oakes and Ricky Gates and Lightfoot and all these people to set these tasks to that. So I'll just put it out there. I want anyone else to do this. This will be great. So to try and drink. Actually, no, that's not drink, but do the 42 pints, 66 tasks, and get these people on board. So I just wanted to shout that out there. So you bored? So there you go. So yeah, just nod away.
Around.
Nice one, Dan. Nice one for that one. That was interesting.
The Keith Pugh round.
The Keith Pugh around there. Please don't drink that. But
You get your photo taken at the end of it.
But yeah. Oh, you know what? I just wanted to put that out there because Keith like mentioned that. Okay, I thought I've done it now. Thank you for that. Thanks for entertaining me for that few minutes.
That was our Keith Pugh segment.
That's all right. I want to speak a wee bit about, you've got to rub shoulders with some. No, you mentioned Sabrina Williams. I heard that correct earlier, didn't I? You were in Beijing for the Olympics, which must have been an awesome trip.
Yeah, that was just taking pictures of her when I first got my camera. But
okay, but you've had fortune to, sports people, non-sports people. Who's the lad? Pritchard.
Oh, Matt Pritchard. Yeah,
Matt Pritchard.
Sanchez.
Yeah, who used to be in a program called Dirty Sanchez, I want to say.
Yeah. Sanchez, yeah, like Jackass, but Welsh one.
Welsh Jackass, and he's kind of turned the corner in terms of his own fitness and doing triathlons and ultramarathons himself now. But yeah, you seem to have photographed him.
Oh, when he says endurance sports when the drugs don't work anymore. So he's really he's really turned his life. That was a nervous one. In fact, talking of that stag do idea, I messaged him saying like, any chance you can set a task? He's like, mate, I'm too busy. So fast forward like 5 years or so later, I'm in Cardiff with him taking portraits in his living room, and it was mad that. So I just messaged him and I went over, shot some content on his kind of upcoming book. So just wanted to say like, photography is a great vehicle to meet some people now and again if you've got something to offer. And then I just kind of messaged her agent. He texted me back and I was like, oh, any chance I can come take some portraits, hang out for the day? I was with him for 7 hours. Funny dude, man. They were like, oh, should we do some like try looking pictures for your Strava campaign stuff that you're doing? And he's like, all right, then yeah, I'll just put this on. I turn around, these bolloco. I'm like, Christ, mate. So I'm not that big, but he's nothing weird, but it's just he's incredibly relaxed dude to be around. If you ever get the privilege to chat or to be around him, he's ace. Wim Hof, that was one like I went on my weight loss journey. That was something I used to do a lot of the breath work and the cold water exposure stuff just to try and keep the mind and the recovery there. And I messaged his daughter, I think we were chatting on Instagram, and then I spotted they were coming to London, so I was like, any chance I can be an event photographer for that? So have you ever been into that? Have you ever tried the Wim Hof stuff or ever tried this breathing? Oh,
I'm doing some stuff just now. I'm reading a book, The Oxygen Advantage, just now. It's about getting focused on the nasal breathing, but I know that Wim Hof was big news, or is big news. But if you've seen more about him, Dan?
Oh, it's just wild. If you can go on YouTube as well, and listen, just go on YouTube, breathwork 3 rounds, and see. But practice it. Don't just give it a go. And that didn't really work. I've had it where you're feeling not tripped out, you're not fainting, but you're really quite spaced out, emotional almost. I think it's like almost like cold as well. It's like a catalyst to almost like a Zen state, like respectfully, and just absolute present or clarity. It's an amazing thing, and it can take 15 minutes. But I was lucky enough I didn't know really what the event was. I just knew it was at the Roundhouse in London, so I'd gone over for that, and next minute I'm just on stage and there's 900 people there lying, screaming, crying, tripping out, just doing the breathing as he's like singing and guiding people through this. It was wild, mate. It's kind of one of them things that kind of get debunked pretty quick. So I'm there breathing, trying to join in a little bit, trying to take some pictures. And that was nice. I spent a little bit of time with him, tried to chat to him. We couldn't understand the word each other were saying, but we had a nice conversation. He was a nice guy. And his story is wild, and with his wife. Just Google it, his wife passing away. And I was dealing with loss of one of my really good friends. I've worked with her for 3 years. And she went on night out and through her decision, joined the Stars, and like just what you do in these situations. So I'd found like this kind of intrinsic thought with that. So it's quite hard to talk about really, but then ultra running and this kind of community of people with that, it was a mad time of recovery really, and it comes out, grief doesn't really go away, does it? It comes grief doesn't go away, it comes out in your next bloody event that you're on typically. So sometimes it does. But
so was the time going with the Wim Hof thing and the breathing, was that all part of what was helping you deal with that?
Yeah, it was just mad. And then I just thought, well, introduce it to other people. So even on, again, back to that stag do that I keep bloody mentioning, I got a Wim Hof instructor for all the 20 lads that are there. We're all doing our ice baths in Keswick and in Lake District and all the breathing. So they're like, lads, where's the beers? I'm like, just hang on, we've got a breathwork class that we're doing first. And they're like, what, Dan? Like I've traveled 6 hours for this, I just want a beer. I'm like, man, trust me, you're gonna love it. So we're all lying there and people just tripping out, and then at the ice baths and things, and then we got on the ale, and that was that around Keswick. But it was incredible.
And how did the breathing go down with the people who had never done it before?
Yeah, loved it. Yeah, the lady was great doing it. Yeah, they loved it. Go and give it a go and message me and see what you think.
Yeah.
But it's really, and you get quicker at it as well. And I just think, so off the back of that, if you're feeling really, I'm not talking at ultra runners here, for God's sake, I'm the worst ultra runner going. But it's like, what I did do is that moment of calm and try and teach myself to just breathe and relax. But the Wim Hof method really does. It does have a lot of disciples, and that I don't want to say I'm one of them, but it really does help with that. And I do really, even when you're taking the pictures, you like kind of just look and make deep breath, relax. It's just that moment of just clarity through the breath work. And when you're really struggling in ultra, I found that helped. Just incredible.
Definitely. Also, taking a breath when you're taking a picture.
Yeah, you got to do that, mate.
Yeah. Still. Yeah, definitely.
But me and the portraits, who else? I wrote one down for Maggie Alfonsi, the rugby player, shot her book cover, things like that. But less about me, but more about the people that I meet. So it's just mad. Like in Sky, for example, I'm sat on having a little kip on a couch. You look up and there's someone you offer the couch space to or the bed to, and then she's just there, just asleep on the table. I'm like, people are so dedicated to this, aren't they? Dedicated to making this just the best thing for everyone. And I'm chatting to someone, I was like, oh, how'd you get on DNF today? It's like, it's all right. Chatting to him, I was like, I kind of written him off a little bit, and then turns out he saved a lady off the summit of Everest. You just don't know people, do you, until you have a little sleep on a couch in Sky with them. But it's so it's just, again, in ultra running, it's just the people and why they're there. It's just, they're just magical people, genuinely, and I'm feeling very lucky that I can photograph them, and hopefully it continues really. But
we said earlier your next trip up to Scotland is to do the finish line of the Glasgow to Edinburgh ultra marathon. John's had the pleasure of taking part in that before it was GB Ultras, I must say. I think, John, is that right?
Yep, that's right,
yeah. Quite a big field in that, so quite a busy time ahead at the finish line.
Yeah, it spaces out enough. You just got to be pretty quick.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you're talking 500, 600, 700 you know, it is a more condensed time.
I think it will be, because it's not going to space out like 100. So
No.
sometimes like 5 people will come through, so I just kind of keep running out and going, hey, I just borrow you for a second. I just no, and they're like taking everything off, or people trying to do the hair. I'm like, no, stay there. You're perfect. You're perfect. And then as soon as they're away from the group, I can just then tell them and then do the shot there. But a lot of people kind of do. I see all the time like that. Don't want a picture, and I'll suddenly see it advertised on like Facebook. People you might know and be like, oh, you didn't want your picture, now it's your profile. So come get your picture. If you see me, please do. I've even got an official sign now. So
yeah, and they might not feel like it at that time, but you know, in 6 hours time, 12 hours time, you know, the next day they're going to love that picture because it captures that, doesn't it?
I deliberately try and wait a few days before I put them. I mean, it take ages to edit regardless, but I try and give it a few days. So, you know, after everything's settled and you're like, right, look back on that picture and think, wow, I am a badass. Or as Goggins will say, have it, the picture in like a cookie jar, and you come out, you look at that picture and go, wow. I have people messaging me saying like, have it, look at it every day and feeling proud. So, you know, I don't have to be there. Just maybe at the end of events, like get someone who you with just to take a picture, just a headshot and look back on it in a few days. Don't look at it straight away, you know, maybe just email it to yourself and schedule it for a week and say like, you know, feeling proud of yourself, and then the picture might flick up. So I really recommend people just try that. Sound like a therapist and photographer, for God's sake, but
fuck that, man. I'd be sending it to everybody that knows me. Everybody's getting it.
You're not joking either.
Looking fascinated by the stories. I wish I could, you know, maybe we can work together on something like this, but open up like a dialogue. I don't want to take it away from people at the end, but like open up some sort of dialogue of people, how they feel, like a video without them being, or like the interviewing thing. You guys are great at that. Like, you know, I want to know a bit more about the people, but then that's their business, I guess. So as a photographer,
Yeah, what's behind the eyes?
That's a good project, man. That's a very good project. That could do it in like 60 seconds or 90 seconds of let's find out about people. Yeah.
And then it's reactive, I guess, because you've asked them a question and they get like me, terribly nervous on this and bumbling over if it's with the pictures. Well, they don't have to talk, you know.
What we'll do is similar to what we did when you came on. We started recording as soon as you joined, rather than waited. We pretended we'd started recording, but we've actually got some gold when you weren't nervous. See?
Just edit out bits where
I do dance like that. Is he twisting my melon or is he being serious?
No,
at all.
Talk about editing or talk about that.
Talk about Everton, did you say, or editing?
Not talk about Everton, mate. No one wants to. No, they're good. My name is an Everton fan. He's a
We're assuming you support the other half.
I do. Not. Yeah, I do.
It's more like 3/4 at the moment, is it? The other 3/4.
Everton nearly going down as well. I don't want to see that happen ultimately.
I know when they're moving into their shiny new stadium.
No, it looks great as well.
But quite photogenic.
It is photogenic. Well, yeah. Again, it's hard work as a photographer taking a picture of the Liverpool escape, and then you've got the bloody Everton stadium there. But the photograph down there a lot.
Of course, it will dominate the riverside now.
But,
John, where are we on our very thorough question set?
We're going to hit the quick fire round for photographers.
Whoa, is this a new feature? Did we ask any other photographers who have been on this question set?
We did.
Is this a debut?
No, this has been asked before of a chap that we had on, David Miller.
Amazing. So
you're in good company, Dan, as is David Miller in good company.
Just you pledge for his book? No.
His book is done, isn't it? He's got his money.
Bloody pledged for it. He'll have to buy it when it comes out. Then I'd pledge for it, definitely.
Bought all his photographs, all that stuff, man. Yeah. The Jasmine Paris, brilliant photograph. Anyway, David Miller will be listening in. This is not about David Miller. This is about Dan Bentley.
Hi, David.
What's your favourite event, Dan?
Lakeland 50.
Cool.
I named a dog after the campsite, so I call my dog Ruskin. Nothing to do with John Ruskin. The campsite.
I love it. I love that. There's a nugget right there. There's a nugget. What's your most iconic photo?
Oh man. I photographed a mandarin duck. Have you heard of one of them before?
A mandarin duck?
Oh my god, your lives. are just about to be below. If you've not seen, you have to Google one of them. Please, if you're listening, look up Man Who Ducked. Dan Bentley, actually, I forgot that. But I'm quite fascinated with these stories of or things that shouldn't really look like they even exist. And these little ducks, I mean, it's the most everyday, typically thing you'll see is a duck in a pond. When you see one of these, man, you might think you're tripping. They're incredible. So that one, I oddly just put that out in the bird watching scene. So I used to, again, I'd shoot a lot of, sorry, this is quick fire, but I'd shoot a lot of sports. When lockdown hit, I had all these like big lenses, and I'm like, well, I'll try and focus on practice. If you want to get a good photographer, try and photograph like robins, and you learn patience, speed, and your camera settings, things like that. Look that up. So I went out and I walked like nearly 20 miles, kept going back to this pond to try and see if this duck was there to find that. So I got a picture of that. I was buzzing. So yeah, that's my
I'm looking at a picture on your website just now called Mandarin duck. Is that a real life animal or an ornament?
Yes, these things exist.
Really?
Yeah, well, it's the same response you say. People run 50 miles. Like, what? People run 100 miles.
I know.
So
He does.
So yeah, I'd say that. So I put it out on these bird watching blogs, and then it's got hundreds of thousands of likes. So that was probably, yeah, I've all this stuff. I photographed this person, I've photographed Stephen Gerrard, and I'm like, that picture's my most iconic, I'd say.
I love that. I love that.
My daughter's like ducks, so that's great.
What's your personal favourite photograph? It doesn't have to be one that you've taken.
Oh,
Christ. Open the door.
Yeah. Oh, you have to come back. There's another one, a quick fire, thinking of something amazing.
Okay.
I tell you what I've taken that I like, but I feel that's not as good as other people's.
Go with that. Go with that.
Probably my favourite picture is a picture in Llandudno, Dan Bentley Llandudno, if you want to Google that. And it just seemed to be, it was one of my, I think it was taken in 2011, and it was just like a seascape with people sat there right in the front. It's almost like the geometry just feels perfect, really balanced. That picture, and then I used to, when there was like kind of print reliefs and things, I'd send that one for people to buy and donate to charity, or all the proceeds of that. So I've always had a nice connection with that one. So I'd say that.
Cool.
But for ultra running sake, let's say Jasmine Paris is by David Miller. That's my favourite recently.
Good choice. Good choice. Love that. What does Dan Bentley eat when he's sitting for 2 days at a finish line? What do you eat, man?
Whatever I have to starve myself quite a bit until they bring the race buffet over, and then I can start snacking on the Skittles. They're always a little bit. It depends if I prefer them. If the race has been quite dry, the Skittles are quite nice. But if it's been raining, I text Laura, the race director, complain that the Skittles are wet, and yeah, salty potatoes, whatever's there. Really, to be honest, they're usually pretty good. So there might be pizzas and things in, but long day. But yeah, Skittles. I'm going to go with Skittles on the quick fire round. Oh man, anything else?
That's you, Stephen.
What? I'm just thinking, what type of Skittles? There's
that
many varieties now. There's sour Skittles, there's normal, there's jumbo, there's squidgy, there's.
Oh my God, I'm not even.
There's a multitude of flavour of Skittles, so we're seeking clarity. We'll home in on that next time, Dan.
Taste the rainbow, baby. Just taste the rainbow.
Taste the rainbow. I didn't give my kids Skittles because apparently they've got too much.
It's been nice actually. I've been eating them at races, and then runners have been bringing me packets of them, saying, "Oh, I've got this in my bag for you." The drop bag, and they bring me over. So like I'm driving home, I've got like 6-7 hours home, and I'm like 3 bags or 4 bags that people have brought me. So even for that as well. People are there.
I used to get a bottle of wine in a wine bag.
I know, yeah. So if you're listening, I like Guinness, 0%.
Yeah. I never requests.
But they're just, again, the nicest people, aren't they? Ultra runners are the nicest. So it's anyway, quick fire. Absolutely. Sorry. What's the next? If you haven't made me more nervous, here we go.
Dan, dialect dictionary. Now, a man for the part of the UK that you come from, you've got a fair bit to live up to here.
Right, I doubt this. I'm gonna make it as obscure and as made up as I can. So I met a runner called sorry, I pronounced it wrong, but Tatiana. She's in a GB Ultras run, and she literally saved me on Pennine Barrier, another event which I signed up for and didn't train for. So I was going up this hill, and she was like, "Just make use of the downhills. Just make use of." I was like, "All right, Tatiana, come on, making me run all this way." She saved my race, brilliant. So then, ever since that, if I see that in my head, I'm like, right, if there's a downhill and you're feeling a bit rubbish, that I say, "Oh, I've got a Tatiana." Don't ask why that's as like, obscure as I can get it.
So you do a Tatiana.
Yeah, sorry,
It's
it wasn't wrong. But,
It's
no.
the motion of using downward and gravity, and when you're the thing that you least want to do is fucking run.
Yeah, I'm one of those annoying whingers. I'm positively whinging along the way. You're like, so, yeah, I choose that.
Every
Cool.
stride's a jarring pain up your legs and your back and your shoulders. Yes, this is all familiar territory.
We do. It's usually the feet, isn't it? The feet is what gets me. So quick fire, yeah, that Tatiana is what I go with. But
And you could people will now be adopting that when they
Oh,
get to that sort of thing, saying, "I'm going to Tatiana the shit out of this."
Yeah,
so there you go. It's
Right.
gonna...
If anyone does that, please let me know. I'd love to hear that.
I was Tatiana yesterday.
I don't think she knows this either, so she's listening.
You just never knew it, but we were doing it yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was doing it. If I had that term in my head, I would have been doing it with even more, don't know, vigor.
I trained with a guy called Jam Shaft. He's actually just swim run the length of the UK. He finished yesterday. Incredible. So on the British way, incredible dude. So I used to train. I still do train with him, and he'd say that to me to keep me going as well. Again, people just seem to look after me in the ultra world, in the long distance. But he'd be a good guest for. Good dude.
What have you got coming up next, running wise, Dan?
Signed up for that 100k, so it's Rangers in Whaley Bridge. So it's I signed up for it because my friend Felicity and Emily are on the poster. So I was like, oh, there you go, it's got to be sound on it. So it's a cheaper one, and it's a low profile event compared to, let's say, London Marathon.
And when is that?
God knows. I need to start training. It's
I was good. My next question was going to be, how's your training going?
I've got a gym in my garage, so I've done a few squats, and I hope for the best. I was chatting with Ross Edgley, he's like, just build a resilient body. You're like, right, okay, I'll do some squats once every 2 weeks or so. That's about. So I've never done that far before. So yeah.
There's no lot changed since that time with the lakes in 2022, Dan.
Mate, I know. I'm not. Look, come on. I'm a fraud. I get too carried away. I literally get. I think because I'm at these events, I've done them, or I'm part of it. So I'm on my feet. 20 hours. Like, I was like, oh, you guys are incredible. Like, thanks so much. Thanks for being here. And I'm like, well, I am here, aren't I? So, suppose I've got me training it. I've done so much training.
I love it.
I'll send you a picture of my feet. So, cool. I'm not looking forward to that, but I am.
John, you'd like that in the Rangers ultras?
I'm open to everything, man. I love everything. All you need is love.
There's a wee reference to.
Please sign. If anyone's listening to this and they want to come and help me out, please sign up. You got 24 hours to do the 100k. I think it's like an out and back, and it's quite flat. Cool. So I've chosen that one as a race that I might be able to get through. But, we'll see. Well, at least it'll be spiritual. We get to learn. Worst case scenario, we learn something, don't we? So,
be a good photographer at the finish line. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and if somebody says just stand there for a minute, mate, you've got to take that, haven't you? You've got to.
Don't know if I could deal with me. Imagine that. At the end, it's like someone like me take a picture. Man, no. I know in my head. I know I like it later, maybe. Oh God.
Oh right. Listen, Dan. One final question, and it's of the music. It's of the musical variety. We have our La Buff Buff playlist that is very, very popular. It's only available on Spotify at this moment in time, but people do like it, and they comment on them too. So what song or track is Dan Bentley going to share with the Young Hearts Run Free listeners?
Man. I'm going to go with a pop punk band called Neck Deep, and it's Wish You Were Here. So check that out. It's that might be a bit different for you. I wonder if you had any pop punk there, but they're from Wrexham, so it's pretty close to me. So
what's the name of the band?
Neck Deep.
Neck Deep. Okay. Yeah, don't know them. Brilliant. I love hearing new stuff. Thank you very much.
Well, someone's already stolen Skip an Issue. Was that?
I think that was Tom Rainey. Was it?
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Dermot Kennedy, someone put Kiss Me out there. I was like, that was nearly one as well. So, neck deep, wish you were here. Go for that.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Got a picture on it, so, you know, there you go.
Process of adding it to the Buff Collection Volume 8. It's now locked and loaded. You familiar with it, John?
I'm not. The only, when Dan said "Wish You Were Here," I've now got Pink Floyd "Wish You Were Here" in my head. But this will maybe flush that out and neck deep. I'll go and listen to it once I've finished recording.
Well, I hope you like it. We'll see. But I've made a lot of notes here, and I hope I've made contributed to something. To but
certainly have.
Reaching out to me and want any tips, tricks, or how I'm doing it, please just.
It's amazing. It's amazing how quick these chats go in. You know, we had a list of questions that I'm sure we've varied off of, but I've found it really, really engaging, man. And I'm sure there's some photographers listening in who are also runners. They'll be getting that bit who are talking about the tech. They'll be going, yeah, I know what he's talking about. Whereas for me, I'm going, point and shoot, take the camera, take the phone out with me, you know, that's my sort of thing. But Dan, it's been absolutely fantastic to catch up with you. I know we chat a bit on socials back and forth, but to actually see you and to hear your voice has been brilliant. And I loved that time in the lakes. The next day, I remember there was you and your pal, Stephen, John, Rob and I, and we all got getting photos taken. It was a purple t-shirt year.
Yeah.
Make legends, not war. That was that year that we were all there, man. And it's been lovely to catch up with you again. So thank you very much. Stephen, I'll let you.
Yeah, Dan, I am going to be taking some photos at the finish line of a race pretty soon, right? Because John and I are appearing at the Auchterarder Running Festival. In fact, are you free that weekend? No,
the weekend I might be able to be up that.
So I'm going to take away some of your hints and tips and see what I can muster up in my own Stephen Watt style, inspired by Dan Bentley. Thank you so much. It's been, like John said, it's been great to actually catch up and connect rather than speak on messages on socials. And keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing those boundaries a wee bit further. I think we spoke about niches and stuff at the start, but you spoke about gaps in people's marketing strategies almost, you know. But I think what you're doing is just adding another dimension, another layer to that memory bank that people have from races that they'll treasure for the rest of their lives. So I can't wait to see how it evolves even more, to be honest.
I feel very honoured to be asked, guys. Thank you so much. And can I just say, whoever's listening, if you ever get to be around these two in the flesh, they're the best, man. We were with Stephen for about an hour before John decided to rock up, and when you guys got together, the chemistry was just incredible. It was such a pleasure to do that with you guys. So thank you, Lakeland, and to be asked here, I'm royally shit myself the entire time. But there you go. So if people are listening to this, thank you so much.
That's very kind of you to say that, Dan. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks again.